I held the bank statement tightly as I watched Michael pack his fancy suits into a designer suitcase. He had just transferred $250,000 out of our account, our shared savings from 15 years, gone with just a few clicks on his phone. "You don't need to look so shocked, Sarah," he said, not even looking at me as he folded another silk tie. "You had to see this coming. A man like me needs someone younger, more lively, you get it, right? My name is Sarah Mitchell, and at 42, I was watching my husband of 17 years pack up his life while telling me why his 26-year-old pregnant mistress deserved our savings more than I did. Of course," I said calmly, even though I was furious inside. "I understand completely, Michael." Finally, he turned to look at me, a hint of suspicion on his face. He expected me to cry, scream, or maybe even fight. My calm reaction clearly surprised him. "Good," he said, adjusting his collar in the mirror, a nervous habit he'd had since we first met. "Jessica and I need that money for the baby, a fresh start. Jessica's my secretary, how cliché." What Michael didn't know was that I'd known about them for months. About the baby, about the apartment he secretly rented for her, about everything. I found the first clue 6 months ago while doing our taxes, a strange charge from a jewelry store I didn't recognize. The receipt, which I found in his desk drawer, was for a diamond tennis bracelet, not the kind of gift you give your secretary for a work-related holiday. That discovery led me to dig deeper. I looked through credit card statements, phone records, and bank transfers. Every piece of evidence was carefully documented and stored, not in our house, but in my private office at the university where I taught forensic accounting. Yes, that's right. My husband, the successful investment banker, had been hiding his affair from a woman who taught others how to uncover financial fraud. "I've arranged for the divorce papers to be delivered tomorrow," Michael said, zipping up his suitcase. "My lawyer says it will be simple, a clean break, no drama." I nodded, still holding the bank statement. "Very efficient." He paused at the bedroom door, frowning a little. "You're taking this well, better than I expected." "What did you expect, Michael?" "I don't know, more resistance. You've always been so." He waved his hand vaguely. "Dependent." I almost laughed. Dependent? He really believed that? Believed that the woman who worked 2 jobs to put herself through graduate school, who built a successful career in academia, who managed our finances from the start, was dependent on him? But that was Michael. He saw what he wanted to see, and for years, I let him see exactly what I wanted him to see. "Will you be staying with Jessica tonight?" I asked, already knowing the answer. The tracker I put on his car months ago would confirm it. "Yes, no point in dragging this out," he said, checking his Rolex, the one I gave him for our 10th anniversary. "I'll send movers for the rest of my things next week." As he walked out of our bedroom for the last time, I waited until I heard the front door close, his car start, and the sound of tires fade away. Only then did I let myself smile. I took out my phone and sent a text to Jennifer, my lawyer. He took the bait. "Time for phase 2. Jennifer replied right away, "Everything's ready, he won't know what hit him." I went to my home office, not the small desk in the living room where I graded papers, but my real office, hidden behind a false wall in the basement. Michael had never known about this room. He never cared about the house's layout or the renovations I handled while he focused on his career. The room was small but organized, filled with computer screens, filing cabinets, and, most importantly, evidence. 6 months of careful work, financial records, photos, recordings, a paper trail that would impress any forensic accountant. But the real prize was on the main screen, a series of bank transfers Michael thought he'd hidden through fake companies and offshore accounts. Nearly $2 million stolen from his clients over the past 3 years. What he didn't know was that every transfer, every account, every dollar had been tracked, documented, and reported to the SEC anonymously. Of course, the investigation was already happening. They were just waiting for one final piece of evidence, the $250,000 he transferred from our joint account. It wasn't going to Jessica's account like he thought. Thanks to some clever changes to the routing numbers, easy for someone with my skills, that money was about to expose his entire operation. I sat at my desk and started typing, activating the programs I'd set up months ago. As lines of code appeared on the screen, I thought about all the times Michael had talked down to me about basic money matters at dinner parties, all the times he called my career cute or a hobby. My phone buzzed. Another text from Jennifer. "SEC just got the alert. They're moving in tomorrow morning." Perfect timing. The divorce papers would arrive right after the FBI raided his office. I leaned back in my chair, feeling satisfied. Michael thought he was starting a new life with his young mistress and our savings. Instead, he was about to learn a very expensive lesson about underestimating his wife, especially one who specializes in following the money. The next morning, I sat in my university office, calmly grading papers while waiting for the news. My students were struggling with the idea of digital forensic trails, ironic, considering what was about to happen. At exactly 9:47 a.m., my phone lit up with a news alert: FBI raids Premier Investment Group, CEO Michael Mitchell in custody. Right on time. Within minutes, my phone was buzzing with texts and calls. I ignored most but answered when Jennifer called. "It's beautiful," she said, not even saying hello. "You should see him trying to explain why that $250,000 transfer led straight to his offshore accounts. He's falling apart." I put my phone on speaker and pulled up the local news livestream on my computer. There was Michael, being led out of his office in handcuffs, his perfect suit wrinkled, his hair messy. The cameras caught his expression perfectly: confusion, anger, and fear. "Has he figured it out yet?" I asked, watching him look around at the reporters. "Not yet," Jennifer said, smiling through her voice, "but he will when the divorce papers arrive in about 3 minutes. I'd timed everything perfectly. The FBI raid would shake him, but the divorce papers would break him, because unlike the simple settlement he planned, these papers detailed his fraud, his affair, and his attempt to hide money before the divorce." "How's Jessica taking the news?" I asked, though I already knew. My sources said she'd been watching the raid from the apartment Michael rented for her. "She left the apartment 10 minutes ago with 3 suitcases and all the jewelry he bought her, including that tennis bracelet that started this whole thing," Jennifer said. "Want to guess where she's going?" "Straight to her lawyer to make a deal with the FBI. Bingo. Turns out she's been keeping her own records. Smart girl." I smiled, thinking about the anonymous email Jessica got last week, telling her exactly what evidence would help her case. Sometimes, the best moves are the ones your opponent never sees coming. My office phone rang, the university president's office. No doubt they'd seen the news and wanted to talk about my job. I let it go to voicemail. They'd soon find out I'd already resigned. I had other plans. "The divorce papers should have arrived," I said, checking my watch. "Any response?" Jennifer laughed. "Oh, yes, his lawyer just called me, freaking out. Michael's demanding to know," and I quote, "How the hell did she know all of this?" I switched tabs on my computer and opened the offshore account I'd been watching. Just as I expected, the $250,000 Michael transferred yesterday had set off a chain of automatic transactions, each one revealing more of his fraud. While trying to hide our savings from me, he accidentally gave the SEC a clear path to every illegal deal he'd ever made. "The FBI agent in charge wants to talk to you," Jennifer said. "They're really impressed with the evidence you gave them. They said it's the most detailed they've ever seen." "I'm sure they are," I replied, thinking about all the hours I'd spent tracking Michael's money moves. "But I'll let them handle it from here. I have a flight to catch." "Running away?" "More like a strategic retreat. I've got a visiting professor job at Oxford. I've been planning it for months." I glanced at my packed bags by the door. "Seems like a good time for a change of scenery." Jennifer was quiet for a moment. "He really had no idea, did he? About any of it? About who you really are?" "No," I said softly, remembering all the times Michael had ignored my work, my intelligence, and what I was capable of. He saw what he wanted to see: a quiet, dependable wife who handled the household bills and taught basic accounting to college students. He never bothered to learn what I actually taught: financial forensics and fraud detection. Jennifer laughed. God, the irony. Speaking of which, I pulled up another window on my computer. His first court appearance should be starting soon. Want to watch? Wouldn't miss it. "But Sarah, what about the money? The $250,000 he took?" I smiled a little. "Oh, that was never our money. That account was just for show, part of the trap. Our real savings." I checked another account on my phone. "Are safe and much bigger." "You really did think of everything." "Had to. When you're married to a financial criminal, you learn to plan ahead." Oxford in the fall was exactly what I needed: the old stone buildings, the quiet libraries, and the distance from everything that had happened. I'd been there 3 months when I got the first email from Jennifer: "Guilty on all counts. 15 years minimum." Jessica turned state's evidence. Apparently, she'd been keeping records of everything since the affair started. Smart girl, like you said, but not smart enough to see she was just another pawn in his game. I sat in my new office, looking out at the college courtyard, feeling a mix of satisfaction and sadness. Not for Michael, he'd made his choices, but for the life I thought we had. The years I spent playing a role to catch him in his own trap. A week later, I got another email, this time from the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. They wanted me to help with other cases. They were impressed with how I'd tracked Michael's fraud, especially how I'd used his own arrogance against him. Your expertise would be invaluable, they wrote, especially in cases involving long-term financial deception. I politely said no. I had other plans. The media frenzy back home had finally calmed down. Michael's face wasn't all over the news anymore, replaced by newer scandals, but his case had become required reading in several forensic accounting programs, including mine. They called it the Mitchell methodology, the art of letting your target think they're winning until it's too late. One evening, while I was grading papers, my phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. Sarah? The voice was shaky. It's Jessica. I leaned back in my chair, watching the sunset over the Oxford rooftops. Hello, Jessica. I was wondering if you'd call. How? She paused, gathering her courage. How long did you know about everything? From the beginning, I said honestly. The bracelet was a careless mistake. After that, it was just a matter of watching and waiting. She was quiet for a moment. The anonymous tip about what evidence to keep, that was you, wasn't it? You deserved a chance to protect yourself. He was using you, just like he used everyone else. I lost the baby, she said suddenly. Not that there ever really was one. It was just another lie to trap him. She laughed bitterly. I thought I was so clever. You know, the young secretary seducing the wealthy boss. But you were the clever one. I thought about Michael sitting in his prison cell, probably still trying to figure out how his perfect plan fell apart. We all have choices, Jessica. He made his, you made yours, I made mine. After I hung up, I opened my laptop and checked a specific account, one Michael had never known about. The balance made me smile. While he'd been stealing from his clients, I'd been quietly building my own investment portfolio, legally, carefully, and successfully. The irony would have killed him. There was a knock at my office door. It was Professor Harrison, the head of the department. Sarah, sorry to bother you, but I wanted to talk about your proposal for the new financial crimes course. The board is really interested, especially because of your unique experience. I smiled, gathering my materials. The course I designed covered everything, from digital forensics to understanding the psychology of white-collar criminals. Every case study was real, including one very personal example. You know, Harrison said as we walked to the meeting, some of the board members were worried about your connection to the Mitchell case. They thought it might be too controversial. And what did you tell them? That they were missing the point. Your experience doesn't weaken the course, it makes it stronger. You're not just teaching theory, you're teaching reality. The board meeting went exactly as I expected. My course was approved unanimously. Starting next semester, I'd be teaching a new generation of forensic accountants, showing them not just how to follow the money but how to understand the minds of financial criminals. That evening, I got one last email from Jennifer. She attached a photo, Michael's face on a billboard outside the SEC headquarters in Washington. Financial fraud alert, the Mitchell case, a cautionary tale. I had to laugh. Michael had finally gotten the fame he always wanted, just not the way he planned. The next morning, I stood in front of my class, looking at the eager faces of future forensic accountants. On the screen behind me was the first slide of my presentation, The Art of Financial Deception, a case study. Today, I began. We're going to learn about a man who thought he was smarter than everyone else. A man who believed money could buy him anything, even freedom from consequences. But most importantly, we're going to learn about the mistake that brings down most financial criminals, underestimating your opponent. As I started the lecture, I thought about that day in our bedroom, watching Michael pack his bags. So sure of himself, he never once considered that his quiet, dependable wife could bring down his entire empire. That was his mistake, one of many. The students were fascinated as I explained the methods, the careful records, and the patience needed to uncover long-term fraud. None of them knew they were learning from the person who brought Michael down. To them, I was just Professor Mitchell, an expert in financial forensics. And that's exactly how I wanted it, because sometimes, the best revenge isn't just about winning, it's about using your victory to stop others from going through the same thing. Every student I teach, every case I work on, every fraud we uncover, that's my real legacy. Michael wanted to be remembered as a brilliant financier. Instead, he'll be remembered as a warning, a case study in greed and deception. And me? I'm exactly who I've always been, just not who he thought I was. That's the final lesson I teach my students. The most dangerous opponent isn't the one who shows their hand, it's the one who waits, watches, learns, and plans until the perfect moment to reveal the truth. Some call it justice, some call it revenge. I call it forensic accounting.